Everything is Fine by Mike Birchall. This collects the first 16 chapters of his webcomic. This was originally published as a webcomic, and then it was collected into this book. And this was published in May of 2023. And I will say that if I would have read this last year, this would have made my list of the top graphic novels of the year. This is a really excellent book in that it takes place in maybe a current timeline in the United States or a world where everything looks nice and clean and suburban, but it's kind of creepy. There's suspense, there's paranoia, there are a lot of mysteries, and as some mysteries are resolved very slowly, other ones come to mind, and it doesn't reveal things too slow, and it doesn't reveal them too fast, just the right speed. And I'm not gonna show all the book because I don't want to spoil it, but you just basically start off, and the reason why you see these cat heads with these smiles is that everyone in this world wears a cat head with that smile, and this never changes. The expressions don't change, the eyes don't change, the smiles don't change, nothing changes. So Mike Birchall has kind of put himself in a box because you can't show like your eyebrows change or any facial acting. So to get around that, a lot of times you'll have this very slow, methodical pace where people are talking, but you don't know if they're saying what they mean. A lot of times you'll have just a response, like there's a point here where he says bye, and then the wife just 2 panels doesn't say anything, and they say time to feed Winston. That's their dog. There's also a great use of, I wouldn't say what they call the Dutch angles where you go 45%, but there's that use of like tilting panels and sometimes distorting things, like the perspective of things, just to kind of create an air of unease and maybe claustrophobia, or just a really good use of like camera techniques, because you can't change these faces, so you have to convey tension and dread and fear and paranoia in other ways, through dialogue, through the storytelling. And Mike Birchall has done an amazing job with this book. This book is creepy, and I mean creepy like modern horror, which is like a Junji Ito thing where you have these weird beasts with tentacles and all this other kind of stuff. This is like Twilight Zone creepy, or maybe Alfred Hitchcock Presents kind of creepy. Those kinds of, or maybe a Rosemary's Baby kind of creepy, where you're not seeing anything that's a special effect, but what you're seeing looks is very unsettling, kind of creepy. What comes to mind a lot is Nick Dornasso's Sabrina, which I know it was highly lauded. I know it made a long list of the Booker Man Prize. I don't know why. I think that it was a failure. I understand that Dornasso was trying to create a sense of dread in a post 9/11 America, but I don't think he understood peaks and valleys of how to raise the tension, de-escalate it, just so that way it could be raised again. It just had this one monotone level of tension, and that it was effective, but I think it kind of was a failure. This does that, but it does it in a more creepy, effective way, and it does it in a very small way. You'll see that these people with these cat heads, they all have, you can tell different because the people will have the same like color, like she has a pink, he has like a light blue green. He tends to wear the same hoodie all the time. People tend to wear the same clothing. It's very in a way almost Handmaid's Tale, but but it's not just the women that are subjugated. It's sort of like the men are kind of like fill this role. It's like this weird, like I would say almost like corporate suburban 1950s, 60s kind of vibe, where it was what you saw on TV, really it wasn't what was going on in the country. You have to be careful of your neighbors because people might be spying on you. And as the book progresses, and when I mentioned like use of perspectives, like here you'll have these surveillance cameras that are on the light post, but you see it from this perspective down. So it's like, not only do you realize that everybody's being surveilled, but it's almost like you're the surveiller looking at them. Just really great use, as I said, of camera angles. I don't know if Mike Birchall studied film, but if he didn't, he should. He just really has a great eye for creating tension, not only through the angles, like here you have this from the down up, even though the lighting is like neutral, kind of creates tension. The angles here are kind of strange, and everything's very clean, which also kind of adds to this, because you know that there's something weird going on here. Like I said, here's like that tilted perspective, and as you read it, you get more and more and more into it, and you start asking, well, why is this way? What happens this? Like one of the protagonists here, she will go to a park nearby, and it's, you see like a swing set, for things for kids, but there's no kids there. And so it's like, well, why is she going to that park all the time? Is she remembering a child she had? Or, what happened to the children? Because you don't see anybody with children, you just see couples. Where are they? Or what happened to them? The more questions that are answered, the more questions you have. And it keeps you more and more engrossed to where you get really sucked into this world. And I'm not gonna spoil the ending, because the ending was actually a real what the fuck moment, and it came out of nowhere. So it's like a cliffhanger, but I can tell you definitely, it makes me want to read volume 2 very quickly. I want to know more about this world, what's going on. Like for instance here, local police officer shows up, and at first he's like real friendly and all that, but then when the protagonist tries to talk to him, he's like, I'm sorry, you weren't asked, I didn't ask you to say anything. So in a very subtle way, you can kind of see like he's not really that friendly. If you probably can find this on sale somewhere. I got this at an Ollie's discount. If you've ever been to one, they have a ton of trade paperbacks, mostly DC, Marvel, and Image. And when I say Image, I mean Walking Dead. So there really isn't a lot there that I'd be interested in, but they did have this, and this was $3. And I bought it because I figured, okay, if it's $3 and I don't like it, then it's only $3. But I have to say that this is an excellent book. It really conveys a sense of horror and dread. It doesn't, as I said before, it doesn't tell you too much too soon. It doesn't tell you too little too soon. It just finds that right niche, and it's very creepy, but it's creepy because it's such a real world that we could be inhabiting. And just as obvious questions like, why people have to wear cats' heads? Why is that? What happened to create an America like this? Just so many different questions. So if you get a chance to read this, I highly recommend it. This is what I call old school horror, like a Rosemary's Baby, a Twilight Zone, an Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Maybe the original The Thing, because the remake by John Carpenter is outstanding, but there is gore and monsters and all that kind of stuff in there. But it's very effective. But this is just really classic horror, just in a way that is scary because it seems so real. Anyway, that's just what I wanted to say. I definitely recommend this, as I said. Volume 2 is out. I'm gonna be picking it up, and I wanna know more what's going on. And that's probably the best thing that I can say about it, is that I read this, and as soon as it ended, I wanted more, immediately. Thanks.